All right. Hey, everybody. So, welcome back to Dr. CC Says Live. I want to thank everybody that's joining me tonight. I want to thank everyone that joined me last night. If you didn't get it, or excuse me, last week. If you didn't get a chance to see the live last week, just go on over to my page after this one and check it out. So, last week we talked about pressure, right? And how the impact of pressure can cause us concerns with our mental health, with our behavior, with our physical health. And tonight, I want to talk about waiting. So, when we talk about waiting, we're talking about that period of time between where you are and where you want to be, right? The period of time between what God has promised you or what God has for you and you actually seeing what God has for you, right? Kind of the fruits of the labor. And so, we have all been in a season of waiting at some point, right? When you're younger, you can't wait to get to be an adult, right? I remember eighth grade graduation. And I was saying to myself, oh, I can't wait until 12th grade and I graduate and then I'll be grown. And I'm sure a lot of us felt that way. If we only knew then what we know now about being grown, right? But, a lot of people, they're waiting to go to college and graduate and get a job. They're waiting to find a spouse. They're waiting to have a baby. And then they're waiting for that baby to leave the nest, right? Waiting to get a promotion at work, waiting to retire, waiting to travel or start a new business, right? Or just waiting for a big break. If that's anybody that's on the call tonight, if you've been waiting on something and you don't mind sharing, drop in the chat what you've been waiting on. And while I wait for you guys to drop a few things in the chat, I can tell you that me and my husband are currently waiting to find and purchase our dream home. And so, if anybody has been dealing with the housing market recently, that is no small feat. All right. Well, I'm waiting on some comments here. And I'm real proud of myself that over the time I've been using Facebook Live, I've learned how to look at the comments and do the live at the same time. Yeah, okay. So I see waiting for financial independence. Yes. And so that's a big one, right? Because a lot of people would feel like, oh, okay, well, there's going to be an age that I get to where I'll be financially free, right? Like, oh, I just need to work my 30 years and then I can retire, right? And then I'm going to be financially set up to live the rest of my life. And so, what we're going to talk about tonight is what do you do when you're waiting, right? Okay, somebody else said purchase a new home, waiting to move to Tennessee. Okay. And so, I used to live in Tennessee. I think it's an awesome place. My question to you might be, Khadijah, what you waiting on? But that's another live. We'll get to that one. But for tonight, I want you to hold on to those things that you know that you're waiting on, because the question I really want to ask is, how are we waiting? Right? What do we do when we're waiting? Or what is it that we don't do when we're waiting? So for some folks, waiting looks like standing still until they receive further instructions, right? You know the saying, like we're in a holding pattern, which can mean that like we're just kind of standing still, no progress, no change. We're just like there, we're just waiting. And with that, the issue can be that sometimes if we're just waiting and not moving, we're not doing anything like any type of work, then when we get those instructions or when we get to the goal or the destination, we might not be ready, right? Another issue with just kind of waiting and kind of standing still and fixating on the end of the journey, we miss the things that are going on while we're on the journey, All right. So if we're only looking at the destination and we're not actually paying attention to the fact that there's life still happening, we'll miss some things. And I tell my patients all the time, are you living or are you just existing? And a lot of times when we're fixated on the end and we're not paying attention to the stuff around us, we're just existing. We're not actually we're not living. Can anybody think of a time when they were just in a holding pattern? They were just kind of stuck where they are. You had a goal. You knew that you were going to get to your goal or get to the destination, but you were just waiting to get to the other side. Not really participating in life, right? You were just kind of there, waiting to get to the end. If that's you, drop a me in the chat if you've ever experienced that. I know I have, right? I know I've been so fixated on just getting to the end and then starting the next journey that I missed a lot of awesome things in the middle of that journey that I was already on. Yeah. Thank you guys for your transparency. Yeah, so I see this a lot in therapy, right? I mean, I see it in my personal life as well, but I also see it a lot in therapy. Patients will come in knowing that they're not where they want to be, right? Knowing that there's some work to do, but because they're so upset with the fact that they're not where they want to be already, they get stuck. They get stuck in the waiting, right? So they're not preparing for the place that they want to get to. They just want to hurry up and get there. And a lot of times, like patients that I see, right, we get upset about the waiting period. We get upset that God hasn't already blessed us with whatever it is we're looking for. You know, we see other people with things that we would like, and we're like, well, why don't we have that? Not realizing that that waiting period is there for a reason. There's something that we're supposed to be doing. There's some prep work. There's some planning, right? Maybe some praying that we're supposed to be doing right at that place. So, if we know that waiting without working, right? Waiting without actively living, waiting without participating in life is not ideal, how should we wait? What are some things that we can do while we wait? Somebody tell me in the chat, what are some things we can do? And I'm going to read some of these comments. Khadijah, don't let J. Culpepper bother you about wanting to move to Tennessee. Tennessee is an awesome place. Okay, Kevin says we can get ready. Definitely. And we'll talk in a minute about what it means to get ready, right? And you know, there's a saying that says if you be ready or stay ready, you don't have to get ready, right? And so that's what we want to talk about tonight. How are we going to stay ready? Let's see. Khadijah said we can prepare. Yeah. Brian says we can be present and be active. Definitely. So you guys are already hitting on my points, right? So I want to talk about the three P's, my three P's of waiting. So we have praying, we have planning, and we have prepping. Okay. And sis, praising in the midst. Definitely, definitely. So the first one is praying because that's the one that gets our mind kind of set on what we need to do and where we need to go, right? So now for me it's praying. It could be meditating, it could be reflecting, but my choice for that first step is praying, right? Praying helps me make sure that I'm in line with my creator. Makes it helps me make sure that I am, following the purpose that's been set up for my life. And just a side note, guys, anything that's you feel like it's been placed on your heart, anything that you feel like you're led to do, anything that's kind of heavy on you, you can't really shake it. 9 times out of 10, that's part of your purpose. All right. So prayer Meditation, reflection, all those things can help you kind of get in touch with that, get in touch with your purpose. So when you find yourself in your waiting season, you want to make sure that you start off by identifying what it is that God has for you, and you do that through prayer. The second thing is planning. And so again, you might be at a different stage than somebody else on this, waiting journey. So if you've already done step 1, just move to step 2. If you already done step 2, just move to step 3. Okay. But the second step would be planning. So this is like that mental work that we have to do. So you're creating guidelines, you're documenting your dreams, and you're also identifying the steps that it takes to bring those dreams to fruition. Right. So this step is important because it'll give you something to refer back to. We know our plans don't always go exactly how we have them in our head, right? But when you have a plan, you're able to kind of gracefully maneuver through those surprises that pop up. And so step 3 would be the prepping or the preparation. So this is the leg work. This is the one where you're doing what you can to be ready for the goal at the end of the waiting season. If the goal is to get a job, then we're preparing, right? It might be technical training, it might be professional development, it might be something as simple as making sure you have what would be considered the uniform for that job. If the goal is to get a spouse, then some of the prep work is going to be working on ourselves, right? We want to make sure that when we go into that relationship, that we are healthy and whole. And just a side note, we're not waiting on a spouse to live, right? We're going to continue to live while we're waiting on the spouse. So let's say the goal is we want to retire. So we might work on investments, or we might work on our stock portfolios, right? Or our travel list, just so we know where we want to go once we're retired. I remember telling my speaking coach that I wanted to do a lot more international travel once, it was safe outside again, right? And she said, "Oh, where you want to go?" And I was telling her one of the places is to Greece. I wanted to go to Greece. And so she said, "Oh, have you done your flight tracker? So you can kind of keep up with like how the flight prices kind of go up and down throughout the year, what the trends are." And I was thinking to myself, no, because like I guess I would do that right before I get ready to go. But why wait on that? Why not already have that type of information so I can actually plan the best trip possible? And again, if you stay ready, you don't have to get ready. All right. So the prepping part is really important because that's going to be the thing that actually pushes us right out of waiting and into whatever this goal or this dream is. So right now, so go back to thinking about, whatever it is you might be waiting for right now, or whatever, the last thing was that you were waiting for. What step are you in? Are you praying? Are you planning? Or are you actually preparing? Like, where are you? And I know Tasha said praising. And praising for me goes with that prayer piece. But sometimes we've already prayed, we've already planned, we're prepping, and we're praising because we know that it's going to come to pass. Right? So sometimes, that praise could come really anywhere along this journey. But where is everybody right now with their waiting? What are you guys doing? Okay, Tasha says she's praising while preparing. All right, Kim says she's in the planning stage. All right, Khadijah says she's preparing. All right, Ken. Hey, Ken. Ken says she's praying. Yeah, so as you can see, we're all in different stages, right? The point is that we're doing something. A lot of people think waiting, even when we talk about waiting on the Lord, a lot of people think that means that we're just supposed to stand still and wait until God does it for us. Although we know he can do it for us, we also know that he works through us and he works through other people. And so a lot of times, if we take one step, he'll take two, right? So the praying, the planning, and the prepping, that's us taking our steps. Okay, Jay said, praising that things are great while I go back and forth. Okay, right. And sometimes you have to go through each one of the stages more than one time, definitely. Yeah. And it also depends on how long you're waiting. But that's another word, and y'all, this was not on my paper for tonight, but God just gave me this. Be encouraged while you're waiting. Your wait might be a different amount of time than it is for somebody else. You might see other people getting their blessing and thinking, okay, so they got theirs real quick. What am I doing wrong? You're not doing anything wrong. It's just a different time frame, right, for different people. So your wait for that particular goal or blessing might have seemed long, but for somebody else, their wait could have been longer, right? It's all relative. And so don't get discouraged while you're waiting. Know that God still has a plan. He has not forgotten about you. And delayed does not mean denied. Okay? There are a lot of blessings that come not when we think they should come, but I promise you they come just when they're supposed to. They come right on time. Yeah. That's it. There's a purpose behind it. Definitely. Definitely. So, guys, as I get ready to close, because as the preacher said, I don't hold you long. As I get ready to close, I want you to think about what waiting looks like for you. And is there anywhere where you can, use one of these three P's? All right. Is there anywhere within your journey or your season of waiting where you can add in some more doing so that you will be ready, right? You don't have to get ready when God is giving you or blessing you with the things that you've asked for, the things that have been placed on your heart. Okay. All right, guys. Well, that is it. Thank you for hanging out with me tonight. Hopefully, I will see you back same time, same place next week. And I am going out of town this week, so I'm going to do some work at an awesome speaking retreat. I'm really excited about it. And so I'm sure I'm going to come back with a lot more self-reflection questions, a lot more things for us to ponder, and a lot more work for you guys to do. So until then, everybody be blessed.